owe the entirety of the fee in lieu at any, so even if it's year 9, you would still owe the entire fee in lieu. As we've gone over, per the zoning code, only 50% of the maximum FAR is available through the affordable commercial space bonus. So the additional FAR is available through the inclusionary housing bonus. We've had conversations with the Portland Housing Bureau on this, and they're comfortable with the way these two fee and lieu can work together. Any developer who wants to maximize the FAR available would need to use both, and the fee and lieu proceeds would support Prosper Portland's affordable commercial framework work. So a few questions that we've heard from you guys already, so I thought I'd put them out there. So why 10-year affordability component? We see a balance. The fee in lieu is set slightly higher than the value of the FAR. So the value of the FAR is more equivalent to the cost of providing the on-site tenant improvements. An increase in duration would we think would further drive developers towards the fee in lieu option. And in addition, the FAR bonus is only going to be used when it has value. You know, it's a bonus. FAR in on inner Division Street versus on outer Sandy has different values. So the FAR is going to start having value at the same time a neighborhood is feeling kind of these redevelopment and gentrification pressures. So if we're seeing this affordable commercial bonus program as an anti-displacement tool, that's going to allow local women, minority-owned businesses to access space as a neighborhood is starting to transition. Why tenant improvements instead of the original reduced rate that was proposed? So new construction is the most expensive space to build out. Second generation space is always going to be cheaper. A reduced rent rate would still leave barriers for tenants to access space. So that $60,000 or $100,000 price tag of building in your first generation tenant improvement costs. And then the uses of the fee and lieu funds would support Prosper Portland's affordable commercial work outside of urban renewal areas, would support our current PIP program, Prosperity Investment Grants, for tenants that are in existing buildings, tenant improvement loans, as Kira mentioned earlier, and then also our small business technical assistance work with the Inclusive Business Network. That is it. I have one example also if you guys are interested in seeing that.
Is there interest in seeing an example? It looks
Okay.
like you've got interest, but it also, Eli, did you have a quick question or did you want to wait?
Okay. So this is a CM2 commercial building, so no housing. From our work with Johnson Economics, an approximate value of the FAR is $20 a square foot. So that kind of puts the FAR at the developer at about $100,000 value. The fee in lieu in this case would be $24 a square foot, which is the same as a developer that could voluntarily opt into the inclusionary housing program currently, which would be a $120,000 price tag because they're paying that per square foot costs. And then on site, we estimate that hot shell standard of work to be about $40 a square foot. They're only building out half to get the 1 square foot for every 2 bonus square feet. So they'd be building out about 2,500 square feet of affordable commercial space, which is about $100,000 value. That's our math behind the curtain.
At a prior presentation, you gave some estimate, I think, of how much utilization you would expect from the program. Could you refresh our memories on that?
So we had Johnson Economics consult with us on sort of the value proposition here and how it would operationalize in the marketplace. And they're figuring, given that the bonus is restricted to the mixed-use zones, and obviously characterizing the properties there, that we would yield, I think it's 14,000 square feet of affordable commercial through the use of this program.
And that's like the marginal space that a program like this could bring on the market. I looked back at, or I had my GIS analyst look back at records of projects that fell into this category over the last 5 years, and it's anywhere from 5 projects in some years, 10 projects in some years, 20 projects in other years that would
Fit into
could
the
consider this bonus. And so I would assume not all of those are going to want bonus FAR, but some of them might. So 5 to 20 projects.
Your mic's off, Eli.
So you think 14,000 is about how much would actually use the program, or that's the total eligible?
That was what our economist estimated would be yielded from the program, is 14,000 square feet.
Okay.
Okay, so I saw a bunch of hands up. I usually look that way, so I'm gonna look this way. Andre, are you still talking? I'm just kidding. Okay, Eli, Andre, you can finish. Totally sorry. Eli, Andre, and then I saw Teresa's hand up and then Jeff's hand up. Go for it, Eli.
Thanks. So I've got some appreciation for the amount of work that goes into figuring out a program like this and how hard it is. And I also remembering back to when we started this discussion with the mixed-use zoning project, and there's a couple questions I have from then that still feel unresolved, which is tough at this stage we are now. One of them, as I've mentioned before, is why there would be a fee in lieu option on a voluntary program. And it feels like each time I've mentioned that, the response has been more detail on how the fee in lieu works. Without getting to the crux of the matter, is that if we're creating more FAR in a neighborhood, it's having various impacts. And various organizations might have reasons to make a public case that in offsetting that, maybe we should put more money into parks to put, trees in the right of way to buffer the impact of the larger building, or maybe park and demand management in the neighborhood for people who are going to be using that building, or maybe housing, or maybe Prosper Portland. And it is yet to be answered to me why, if people are writing checks to get this voluntary bonus and no affordable housing, no affordable commercial spaces being created on-site or off-site, why the deposit slip for that check would be Prosper Portland versus other parts of government. So I've never had an answer to that question yet. And maybe that's a public policy discussion for the city, and it's not that encouraging. I mean, it's encouraging that you've talked to the Housing Bureau, your national competitor in this, who gets the deposit slip question.
We're friends.
But it's not encouraging to me as a policy person why there would be just 2 city agencies having this discussion. And I know that with the housing, there is a way to pay a fee in lieu on smaller projects. Matt Schaubel pointed out that long ago they said that part of this is just generally funding general housing programs, and I might have missed that subtlety at the time, but I guess I'm not missing it now. In terms of the goals of the program, I understand it's hard to screen for, I'm just sort of going to toss out a laundry list here quickly and let the discussion go on. Screening tenants is hard to write criteria. And the criteria written now, I was concerned at the time there might be easy to have loopholes in it. And I wonder whether Salt and Straw would qualify. Would Gert Boyle's Columbia Sportswear qualify? Woman-owned business, locally owned. Would a minority-owned franchise of Subway Subs qualify? Locally owned franchises are locally owned businesses by most definitions. So I'll just toss it out there that even with good attempt to write screening criteria, there may be big loopholes in it. And the other is still a question of the number of years. I mean, I get why you made the case, why 10 years. It's hard to go longer because people won't do it. They'll just pay in lieu. If we look at the other program out there, affordable housing, we get 99 years. As a long-term gentrification strategy, 10 years doesn't feel like much. It maybe helps one business owner get in the first door. After that, the building's going to still be bigger forever, right? And the last question I was just sort of getting at with the numbers estimate, if we use $24 per square foot as sort of a proxy for value, 14,000 square feet is $336,000. I wonder whether that's, and so far we're just on the tip of the iceberg in terms of Prosper Portland actually staffing this program. We know from inclusionary housing, this program design and then its implementation, it takes a lot of staff time, maybe more than expected. I wouldn't want to set up someone to go in the hole, even in program design, to basically spend through the possible revenue from the program without, I could see if people are paying fee in lieu, it getting burnt up in administrative costs for such a small program, which would concern me. Is if someone's going to be pulled the plug on it, better to do it now than before we just create a sinkhole. I mean, I support a lot of Prosper programs, but it takes staff to implement these things in a small scale. Sometimes you can spend the whole resources of the program just to design the program. So I'm going to stop there with my devil's advocate naysaying and let others comment, or you to respond if you like.
And well, it'd be great if you could take the response. And I was writing down the questions if you need help remembering. Okay.
Well, we'll tag team this. Well, first, I want to single you out, Eli, for pushing us on these issues. It really has made our endeavor stronger. So the critique is something that we've been trying to address and get our head around, given what we see are the sort of market complexities and tenant complexities. So I think it's fair that we haven't removed some of these challenges, but only attempted to address them. I'm going to talk a little bit about the screening criteria. You're concerned that this program has loopholes that would allow for folks that are more well-heeled to enter into the program, even though we've got targeting criteria. And that I think, and I'll also address the staffing issue, and I'll leave the other two questions for my colleague here. So I've set you up. I think that your point's well taken. We're going to have to thread the needle between sort of what's fair. We have guidelines. If you fit into them, you should have access to the program. We're also targeting particularly underserved communities. We are clearly supporting an anti-displacement strategy here. So if you are capable of accessing the space financially, we're going to discover that in our review of your business plan, your financial statements. So I don't think that this Subway franchisee, though they may fit some of the qualifying standards, are likely to.
Add in our current programs, that's a disqualification. If there is a franchise, you're not eligible for any of our programs. So also, if you don't allow minors, you're not eligible for Prosper Portland financial assistance.
As you saw in our presentations, program fits into a suite of supportive technical assistance that we're already operating at Prosper Portland in our business and industry division. So, and in our investment division where we produce, loans and work with other